I met a gypsy.
What was the drug that got you fucked up?
All of them.
Really?
All of them. Yeah, I live under full pressure, full intensity, full everything. I want the greatest and most impactful experiences I can have, whether synthetic or organic.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a type of person that is completely down with chaos. And, you know, like, that. I think about it in, like, I'm not a gnarly example of it. Like, I guess I, like, have a toe dipped in this water, but I kind of see it, you know? Like, I grew up in, it was like a kind of crazy place. Like, my parents bought this fucking house off a plan, like, out of town in like, this small new suburb. And then right after they, like, everything got developed, it basically got turned into a housing project. So there were, like, a few streets that were, like, normal that people bought off the plan, and then I don't know whether it, like, didn't sell or, like, what the deal was, but yeah, then, like, the rest of it went to housing commission. So I was, like, a kid that had, like, a really nice loving parents, like, both my parents were together, best family in the world, and then all around me were fucking kids that were on drugs. Like, my best friend's dad was a fucking gnarly drug dealer. Like, I was at his house multiple times when he, like, beat the shit out of his mom, and, like, we're fucking hiding under bed. Like, so I lived, like, this fucking gnarly life by proxy. And then I'd go home to my bed and my fucking nice parents, and then there'd be a bunch of kids that come and stay at our house. Like, so I kind of, and then as we got into high school, they were selling drugs, and, like, it was like a gnarly way to grow up, but I was fairly protected from it, you know? And I wonder about, like, the impact that makes on your life of being, like, around chaotic shit from a super young age, you know? Like, and even now, like, I'm down to just fucking move my whole life in a day, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, so I've got a little bit of it, but I never went fucking gnarly bad with drugs. Like, I never got in the kind of trouble that my friends got in. And, like, I literally, this mate I'm talking about, I just saw him for, like, the first time in 2 years. Like, he was at my wedding, and he was like, man, remember, Dan's dead. Fucking this dude's dead. Like, this chick, dude, she lost her kids recently. Like, the fuck socials, she got crazy bad on meth. Like, it was just fucking insane the way that, you know, some people can go. So it's like, I get with you that level of just down to be in the fucking chaos. Like, where can this experience take? And I mean, that's why you're fucking Sendy on a dirt bike too, you know? You're just, like, down to see where the shit goes.
You know, it's so funny. I used to have that same train of thought. I used to actually, like, low-key blame my dad for, like, living such a chaos. For me growing up to be someone who lived so full Sendy chaotic life. Because I was like, I was a baby. My brain was still developing. And you put me on a dirt bike and I'm sending it and, like, doing crazy things. Only thinking, you know, like, I began to, like, develop a thought that was like, this is the only way to live. Like, pinned, full throttle, you know, six gear tapped, that's it. So when I got older, I continued living like that. And then but now, all these years later, obviously was not my dad. And again, like we said, he was just doing his best. He obviously didn't want to put me in harm's way. He was doing his best. He thought it would do the opposite. But, like, half of us...
And for a lot of kids, it does do the opposite.
Exactly. Half of us went on to be, like, some of the top pros that are still in the circuit, and the other half of us went on to be problematic. And then I look at kids that never raced. They never raced dirt bikes. They never drag raced. They never, like, did those things. Half of them are, like, great human beings. The other half, like, were problematic. So there really is, like, nowhere to put that blame. Maybe it's just who I am, like, you know, and those are the external circumstances are built around who I actually am anyway. Or maybe there is some effect that it had to just being Sendy in my life. But it also played, like, good roles. Like, I would not have accomplished all the things I did in life if I didn't reach for the absolute ceiling in everything I touched.
Yeah, and there's a weird mentality that I feel like guys like you have, to where they kind of, like, just believe that they can do the things that they're doing. Like, I mean, some of the fucking gambling shit that you've done, like, I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos and that, and just, like, crazy fucking hands, bro. Like, just millions of dollars in you know, poker tournaments that's on TV, and you can just, like, sit there, be chilling. Like, there's a very unrelatable level of self-belief that you have to, like, sit there and do that shit. Like, I think there's, like, one video I watched, it's like, this is the greatest poker bluff of all time.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people call it delusion, just so you know.
Yeah,
you know,
bro, for real. That's what it is.
I live in this state of delusion, except that it's supported by action. So every so often, my action will meet the delusion that I had in my mind, you know? And that's when we make history. That's when these historic events take place.
Yeah, so you can't be the you that can do that shit without being that chaotic, fucked up dude that's lived this gnarly life that you've lived, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So it's like this weird double-edged sword, you know? But all I know is that I'm here and I can't change the past. So, like, I'm just going to keep on keeping on, you know? I had something I wanted to say on that. I forgot what, though. You want to know how I realized? So this, like, delusional, false, like, self feeling of belief or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I can tell you the first time I had those feelings where I realized that there's no cap, right? Like, there's no limit. And it was always about getting in trouble. When I was like really young, I remember that I would like do something bad, like in school, and they'd like give me a punishment, like detention or whatever. And I'd be like, okay. I'd be like, I wonder what would happen if I did something worse. And I'd do something worse and it was the same consequence. They're like, more detention. And I'd be like, how bad can I be before there's a different consequence? And then it'd only be like, okay, now you're suspended for 3 days. And so then I realized no matter how bad I was, there was no limit to how crazy I could be in school because the consequence is always the same. Like nothing actually ever happened. And then I just like kept building on that. I was like, people are like, you can't just go to a restaurant and be loud. And I will just scream on top of my lungs. And what are you going to do? There's no consequence. And I'm like, don't say you can't do that because you can do it. And it's like this concept of this like delusional, false sense of belief, like continue to build on that. Everybody's like, you can't do that. It's not doable. Don't do that. You can't. I'm like, my man, you absolutely can. Watch me do it.
I promise you. I promise you can.
Yeah.
Dude, no, I get it, man.
You can't just pick up and leave and move to LA because you feel like it today. Who's going to stop me?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's like but it's weird though, right? Because you've got this like fear of not being liked and this fear of being judged on the one hand, but then on the other hand, like you also don't give a fuck because you can't give a fuck and then follow through with those kind of actions, you know? Like it's weird how those two things don't exactly sit together.
There's a term, I forget the term. It's dang. It's like, what do they call it? Like an egomaniac with low self-esteem. Dang, there's like a term, but it's like an oxymoron. There's like a term that describes that kind of characteristic. I forget what it is. It's a very volatile mix, I'll tell you that. I forget what the actual term is, but it does describe me as well as a lot of other people I know. And it's very volatile. You know, we'll do something really crazy, delusional, whatever, and even accomplish it. And then we'll self-reflect and doubt about it. You know, and then we'll hate ourselves for accomplishing something we set out to succeed in.
Yeah, there's a weird thing though that I kind of, I don't know if you could relate to it, but like what I did before the podcast was like film. I used to like music videos and dirt bike videos and fucking all that shit. And I would be so anxious about it to the point where like I didn't want to do it. And it was the same every fucking time. And it's like the same before a podcast. Like I'm here way too early. I'm making sure everything's fucking I've got this crazy anxiety and thinking like I'm about to fuck it up, and then you like it. That anxiety like pushes you through it, and it's like it's almost like what you're talking about, where it's like you've got this crazy self confidence, but then also like this extreme level of self doubt, and it's like, does the self doubt, is that what then like creates the confidence because you've spent so much time like doubting every single? I don't know. It's fucking weird.
I don't know either, but I can tell you this. Despite any emotions or feelings I've ever had, if I've pre-committed in my head, like if I've committed to do something, I am pushing through and doing it no matter what. So like fear or no fear, like I'm still trudging on.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.